If I should die, think only this of me, that there's some corner of a foreign field that is forever England. There shall be in that rich earth a richer dust concealed, a dust whom England bore, shaped, made aware, gave once her flowers to love, her ways to roam, a body of England's breathing English air, washed by the rivers, blessed by sons of home.
Welcome live to the Tower of London, the historic heart of England for almost 1,000 years, since it was founded by William the Conqueror shortly after his invasion of 1066. And welcome to Discovery Education's National School Assembly on the theme of Remembrance in this special centenary year. And thank you to Ruxar for our opening of the Assembly with her moving reading of Rupert Brooke's famous poem.
It's 100 years since the start of the First World War, and to mark the centenary, the tower's famous moat has been filled with hundreds of thousands of ceramic copies in an amazing installation called Blood-Swept Lands and Seas of Red. We'll be meeting its creator a little later on. In this National School Assembly, in which your school is one of many thousands participating, we want to explore with you why it's important that events that happened 100 years ago should still be remembered today.
The learning team at the Tower of London is asking everyone who comes to see these poppies 3 questions which help everyone really think and understand what it means to remember. Why should we remember? Why, when it's all so long ago and the last troops who served in the First World War have now died, should we bother to remember? Is it because the First World War was the first global conflict involving enormous armies and causing horrific casualties on all sides? 38 million in all.
And today, in 2014, the 100th anniversary of the outbreak of the First World War, why is this year's different from other years? Is it because the centenary of an event is an important milestone anyway? Is it because 100 years since the First World War, none of the troops are alive anymore and the event is passing into our history?
And the third question, how do you want to remember? There are many ways to remember. Some are familiar, like wearing a poppy or visiting a memorial. But you could also have a discussion in class or invite ex-servicemen and women into school to talk to them about their experiences of serving in a modern war or conflict. If you'd like to volunteer, you could help the Royal British Legion in their work. They make and sell the famous poppies everyone wears and offer support to all the armed forces and their families. Some school children have been sharing their thoughts on these 3 questions.
I think it's even more important to remember now that there are no survivors of the war.
There are no one now that can tell us how it was like or how they felt or what happened in the war.
I don't know how to feel because it's so overwhelming with so many names and you can't read out every single one. Because they're now gone, we have to put ourselves in their place and we have to try and find out what happened because there's no one there left to tell us what did happen.
I don't really feel connected to the First World War because it's a different time.
I think it should be remembered as something that never should have happened.
If you reach 100 years in your life, then it's an achievement.
I think it's more the milestone of saying this is how the war has changed all of our lives.
I think there's a connection between the men and women serving now to those who fought in World War I.
It means that they didn't die in vain, that they're still being remembered and commemorated for their service.
Each poppy presents a soldier that died.
Monuments and memorial services are like having a conversation with society about remembering the war. Some people need something smaller and more intimate to respond to.
That as well as a moment of silence, there should also be a discussion so we can really reflect on what people in the war did.
We should be grateful for what they did.
And here are the thoughts of the First World War troops themselves in a famous soldier's song performed here by the choir of Ark All Saints Academy, Camberwell, When This Lousy War Is Over. Wearing a poppy, a way of remembering people who've died in war and supporting war veterans and their families. In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row. Canadian poet Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae wrote those famous lines after the death of a friend. He refers to poppies blowing in the wind. The poppies whose seeds had lain dormant in the ground until the fighting on the battlefields stirred the soil and poppies bloomed amongst the chaos of war. This powerful symbol inspired McCrae, and in 1922 the poppy was adopted by the Royal British Legion as the symbol of remembrance. A lot of thought went into the way the poppy was designed, so it could be made by injured soldiers. One person can make up to 3,000 poppies in a day. Some poppies are made into crosses and planted as part of Fields of Remembrance. In honour of the centenary of the First World War, over 45 million poppies have been made, all contributing to the Royal British Legion's campaign to support returning soldiers and their families.
As famous as the Tower of London is, almost as famous are the yeoman warders who live here, guarding the tower and its special contents, the crown jewels. All the yeoman warders have had distinguished service in Her Majesty's Armed Forces. One of them is Yeoman Sergeant Crawford Butler. So it's lovely to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Now, as someone who lives and works in the tower, what's it been like to see the artwork taking shape around you?
It's been absolutely amazing. I actually planted the first poppy, and to see it grow into this spectacular display that you see today has been absolutely fantastic.
And as a former serving soldier, what does remembrance mean to you?
Well, as a former soldier, I've lost colleagues in my time in the military, and it's a way of remembering them and the sacrifice that they've made for the Queen and country.
But what do you think is especially important to remember now?
It's a lesson that we must never forget, those who've given up their lives, and to ensure that we never make the same mistake again.
Now, the First World War seems so distant now. Why is it important we keep it fresh in our minds?
Well, although it's 100 years ago, it's very important that we never forget. And you can see that every single poppy here, 888,246, represents a young life lost. We must never lose sight of that.
And for the children who are studying and learning about the First World War, have you got a message for them?
Never forget. That's simple. Never forget those that have sacrificed their lives. They give their today for our tomorrow.
Well, thank you very much, Yeoman Sergeant Crawford Butler.
You're welcome.
Coming up soon, you can meet the artist who created this amazing sea of poppies here at the Tower of London. Many schools study the theme of remembrance, as you are today by taking part in the National School Assembly. At Pakeman Primary, just up the road in Islington, they've been lucky enough to work closely with the tower itself. Over now to Pakeman School and Hall Davidson.
I'm at Pakeman School here in London, and we're about to connect via the wonders of the internet to Hamilton Memorial School over in Ontario, Canada. We're very excited about the connection about Remembrance Day. Remembrance is important in Canada because Canadian troops made huge sacrifices in the First World War. And it's especially on people's mind now in Hamilton, Ontario, because one of their very own was killed tragically in the line of duty while serving at the Parliament.
My family was involved in the war, and I've got a family tree.
During the war, my great-great-grandfather had been in the war, so now it's like a Remembrance Day every day for me.
So we ultimately want to make something, and we thought we'd make a poem, and we could do that together. But to sort of warm up, we want to start looking at some things that were very important about Remembrance Day, just kind of get in the descriptive mood. Are you with us on that? Yeah! Okay, so we have some pictures, and we hope you do too, but we have some of medals and one of a sort of a golden box. Do you have these?
Yeah.
The golden box was given to each soldier in the army. In the box there was a Christmas card and pieces of chocolate.
Do you guys know what the two M stands for? They both stand for Mary.
Now we're going to really write something together. We're looking at what's called the death penny. Do you have that one? What do you think? A death penny, and what does it mean, and what do you think about that thing? Hamza?
A death penny is for the people that died in the war. If I had a death penny, I'll feel very sad.
The death penny that we have is from a soldier called David Taylor. He has it because he died for freedom and honor to save his world.
Your thoughts in Ontario?
Do you have a real death penny in your school? And if you do, how big is it?
It's the size of this.
What we'd like you to do is pick the words you like, put them in order, and create a poem. A simultaneous poem written between these two countries in real time. So this may be a world's first.
When they're fighting for our freedom.
I mean, that would be a terrific last sentence. What do you think? Should we stop there? You want to keep going? Keep going? All right, what should be next? So died for honor. Oh, I like by myself then. Where's by myself? Is by myself how we want to finish it? Is that the end? Okay. And then we're going to read this aloud to them, yeah? Okay, ready? Good? Good? So we're ready to go? I think our poem is constructed. This is a poem combining the talents of Hamilton School, Hamilton Memorial, and Pakeman.
War, terrifying, really scary, died for freedom.
I feel alone and scared. I have to dig a trench to hide. Upsetting, frightening, annoyed.
Freedom, died for honor, by myself.
Excellent work. Thank you very much. We hope you had an enjoyable time there as well.
Yeah!
If you'd like to replicate this activity, log on to the Discovery Education Network.
If your school would like to study the First World War more closely, as Pakeman Primary have done, the Tower of London has resources available free. And as part of their Why Remember campaign, they're also asking everyone to make a digital dedication on a special web page. A picture of the tower made up of 100 1,000 pixels, each one waiting to be covered by a dedication or an artwork. And they're encouraging schools to take part in fundraising days, collecting money for 6 charities which work tirelessly to help support serving and former armed forces personnel and their families. You can see the names of all 6 on the screen now. All do worthy and important work which ensure that the work of remembrance doesn't last a day but throughout the year. And there are many free resources and a fundraising pack available from the Tower of London's website as well.
Now I'm here with Mickey Richards, one of the gold medal winners from the Invictus Games held in London earlier this year for servicemen and women with injuries or illness. Now Mickey was given lots of support by Help for Heroes. So Mickey, can you tell us a bit more about the Invictus Games and how you won your medals?
I competed in Invictus Games this year, won 2 golds in 100 metres and 400 metre track, and silver in powerlifting. It was amazing. I don't think anybody thought it was going to be as big as it was, and the Team GB spirit was just incredible. It was nice how we all kind of got together and really gelled as a team, even if we hadn't met each other, and it was just overcoming our injuries really, and just how behind us the British public actually are was really emotional for me and the team to see.
Now we said that obviously you were injured. What were you doing before your injury?
So I joined the Royal Navy in 2006 as a weapon engineer, serving on HMS Portland and HMS Bulwark, doing anti-piracy operations. I was coming away from a communications course and unfortunately got involved in a car accident which left me with a brain injury.
And then how did you get involved in the Invictus Games?
After my car accident, everything you kind of take for granted with walking, talking, I couldn't do anymore. So with the help of Help for Heroes, they got me back on my feet and actually taught me how to run. And I got into sprinting through Wounded Warrior, which is the American equivalent of Invictus Games, which Prince Harry brought over here. And that was me. I just started sprinting and winning medals.
Now, as someone who served, what does remembrance mean to you?
Remembrance means to me never forgetting the past and those who gave the ultimate sacrifice and lost their lives during both world wars and recent conflicts as well. I think people need to remember how different this country could be if we hadn't gone to those wars.
This amazing field of poppies has been planted by a volunteer army of 16,000 strong, and it's captured the imagination of people across the world. There's a poppy for every one of the 888,246 British and colonial military lives lost in the First World War. And the creator of this magnificent artwork is the ceramic artist Paul Cummins. Welcome to our assembly, Paul. Thank you very much for letting us get this close to the poppy, because I'm not sure everybody can.
Thank you.
The initial inspiration that you had for this installation, how close is it to what you had?
It's getting there. The big thing is the volunteers putting them in, because they do exactly what they want to when they want to do it. So that's a bit hard.
Well, I can only imagine you must have an eagle's eye view to put this all together in the first place.
Yeah, there's me and a gentleman called Tom Piper. Tom Piper sort of stage designed it. I came with the idea, made them, and this is what we've come up with.
And how close is the inspiration that you originally had in your head to this magnificent thing that we're seeing now?
It's getting quite close with basically the lines of blood, sweat, lands and seas of red, which is literally hopefully what it represents. And people have just taken it to heart.
Have you had a personal connection to Remembrance yourself?
I have a few members of my family from the First World War who died, and I have a couple of uncles who were in Northern Ireland.
So it's very emotionally connected to you as well?
Yeah.
What's the most surprising thing that's come out of this whole creation for you?
Stories of people and the millions of people who've come to see it. That wasn't expected by me.
Did you think it would reach as far as it has around the world?
No. Don't think anybody did.
So what kind of things are people saying to you when they come up to you?
They're literally telling me their stories and how happy they are something's here, and what they personally mean to them, because they've been able to tell their adults to their children, and it's just been mixing throughout the whole world.
It's an artistic interpretation, but there must be also a level of responsibility to you because each one of these flowers represents somebody's family member.
Yeah, the people who help making all this lot are really quite passionate that they actually look like they're meant to, and they don't break any. They get quite upset if they break one to replace it.
Well, there's been so much comment from the Prime Minister to people on the street about what should happen to these poppies. What was the original idea for you and what's going to actually take place?
The original idea was for me is them to come here, people to get them, to close the circle, because a lot of them who've bought them are literally family members, so it brings them back home. The reality, most of them have done this. There's the waif behind me in the window the government's bought to tour around the country, basically, and find a home for it eventually.
Where would you like to see it as a home?
I'd literally like it to carry on touring, but basically it's going to go to probably one of the war museums.
Out of all the people that have been here to see it, who stuck out to you as somebody that's pretty remarkable, or they've said something amazing to you?
It literally is the volunteers. There's so many of them and so many stories, and they can relate to each other. It sort of brought everyone together as a little community.
So what's next for you? A lie-in?
We'll see. There's things to do.
I'm looking around here and the scale of this. How do you actually get that inside your head to put it down on paper and make it work?
For me, it's the task of making them and the actual colour. The colours brought it to life for me more than anything else, because it is literally a sea of red.
Yeah. And the damage of any of these? Somebody was saying that if they stay out here any longer, because it's getting colder, the ceramic, they will crack.
I believe they won't. They'll be fine for now.
They're not dishwasher proof?
No. No.
Paul, it's been really moving to be here, and you can just see people walking past now, that there's a reverence that takes place as soon as they see it. Yeah. Is that touching to you that you've had that impact on people?
It is, and it's quite shocking, because I didn't realise it would happen. And I'm really quite happy about it all, and I'm glad that everyone can relate to it, because it's a simple idea, there's nothing complicated.
Well, it's simple but expertly put together. You and 16,000 people, thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
1914 by Philip Larkin. Those long, uneven lines, standing as patiently as if they were stretched outside the Oval or Villa Park. The crowns of the hats, the sun, on moustached, archaic faces, grinning as if it were all an August bank holiday lark.
And the shut shops, the bleached, established names on the sunblinds, the farthings and sovereigns and dark-clothed children at play, called after kings and queens, the tin advertisements for cocoa and twist, and the pubs wide open all day.
Never such innocence, never before or since, as changed itself to pass without a word, the men leaving the gardens tidy, the thousands of marriages lasting a little while longer. Never such innocence again.
And with every one of these 888,246 poppies representing a British life lost in the First World War, let us here at the Tower and you watch of reflection.
No piggyback for Freddie. No husband for Jill. No shopkeeper for Eddie's stall. No fireman for Will. For Kate, no bedtime story. No last farewell for Jen. They raise the dead in glory, but they won't come back again. A small red flower won't bring them back, and the dead can't feel respected. They're just cemented in the cold, hard ground and know that they are remembered.
That's almost the end of our National School Assembly. Thank you for watching and for taking part. And we hope you found it's helped you and your school focus on the question, why remember?
Tomorrow is Armistice Day, the 11th day of the 11th month, when in 1918 the guns finally fell silent after 4 years of fighting and human slaughter.
And tomorrow, the final poppy will be planted here in the moat. It will complete the most dramatic war memorial of our time, one that helps everyone who sees it reflect on the sacrifices made during the First World War and the importance, even 100 years later, of remembrance.
We end our assembly here in the rain with the playing of the last post, the traditional salute to the fallen. And we ask everyone watching in school to show their respects by please standing up now. Goodbye.